Most builders think that profit is either made or lost at the end of the job. That once the dust settles and the invoices are paid, that whatever's left in the bank account tells the story. But that's the illusion, because profit isn't made or lost at the end. It's earned and lost in the small decisions that happen every single day. And if you're not tracking those decisions in real time, then you'll never know where your money actually went. That's why job costing matters so much. It's not paperwork, and it's not just for accountants. It's the system that lets you see exactly how projects are performing while they're happening, so you can make adjustments before it's too late. But most builders avoid it because it's too complicated. Too many codes, too much data entry, too much extra work. But here's the truth. Once you install a job costing system in your business, everything gets easier. You stop chasing down receipts, you stop guessing where your margin went, and you start making smarter decisions in real time. It's literally the difference between flying with instruments and flying blind. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your own job costing system, because whether you're fixed cost or cost plus, job costing is non-negotiable. Because if you're not tracking every cost, I guarantee you're losing money and profit that you deserve to earn. And once you see how job costing works, you'll never look at your numbers the same way. Hey, I'm Brian, and I'm a licensed journeyman carpenter turned professional remodeler and custom home builder. I spent over 20 years in the business, and with 2 parents as accountants, I was basically raised on numbers. So now I help builders and remodelers just like you use those numbers to make smarter decisions and build more profitable companies. If you're new to job costing, you can start simple. Check the link in the description below for our job costing workbook. But if you're ready for something more powerful, check out Buildwise, the job costing software platform that I built that will show you visibility across all of your projects in real time. And just before we jump in, don't forget to hit subscribe. It's the best way that you can support our channel. Alright, so if you've ever tried to figure out where your profit went, but the numbers weren't lining up, this is why. In simple terms, job costing is the process of tracking your actual costs and then comparing it to the estimated cost that you had. That means tracking every single dollar from labor, materials, and trades and tying it back to the project that it belongs to. So let's start by breaking down the 4 levels of job costing and how each one gives a deeper level of clarity. At the highest level, you've got your company-wide view, otherwise known as the profit and loss statement in your QuickBooks account. A P&L is made up of 5 parts. First, gross revenue. That's the total amount of revenue that your company brought in. Next is cost of goods sold, otherwise known as COGS. These are labor, materials, and trade expenses directly tied to the projects. Then comes gross profit, which is basically the result of revenue minus the COGS, tells you how much you earned on the jobs after you're done paying for everything directly connected to them. Next is overhead or expenses, and these are indirect costs of running your business and running the projects themselves, things like rent, software subscriptions, vehicles, business insurance, those sorts of things that aren't tied directly to the project but are necessary for you to produce the work. And finally, net profit. That's what's left after everything's been deducted. This view is super important because it'll tell you if your business made or lost money. But the challenge is it can't tell you which projects actually contributed to that profit or loss. So we go down to the second level, which is a project level P&L. And this is the first real step towards job costing, where now you're tracking the revenue and expenses by each project individually. It's useful for spotting which jobs performed well or didn't, but the challenge is that you still can't see why the margins have moved because all the costs are lumped together. The third level is the cost code view. And this is where you start breaking down the cost by categories such as framing, electrical, plumbing, etc. It's only here that you can start to see which scopes of work or which categories of construction are either on budget or running hot. Because now what you can see is what you estimated versus what something actually costs. And this is where job costing starts to connect to estimating. It closes the feedback loop between what you estimated and what the actual costs were. And the fourth and deepest level is where we go into cost code by cost of goods category. That means that we see all of the categories of construction, but we see the costs broken down by labor, materials, and trades. That's when you can really see line by line what's driving your margins in terms of profit and loss. But here's where things get a bit complicated. You see, materials and trades are simple. You either get a receipt from like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, or you get a trade invoice, you enter it, and it's done. But labor isn't as straightforward as this. Because labor runs through payroll, spread across multiple projects, a lot of builders won't actually separate employee time by project or by cost code. Compounding this problem is that federal and state taxes, pension plans, workers' comp, all of those added costs sit on top of the actual pay rate that you're paying your employees. These costs are what's called the employer portions, and if you're not adding these on top of the actual pay rate, then the reports that you're looking at are lying to you. And that's exactly where Buildwise fills the gap. Because when you join Buildwise, we'll work with you to ensure that you're calculating your labor burden rates correctly before you place those into our system. And when you do this, you get an accurate view of your true costs costs, and your true margin. So if you're not doing this, you're only getting 2/3 of the picture. And I guarantee that blind spot is costing you profit. So if you want your job costing to work, you need to build it in the right order. Because most builders try to build everything at once, and that's exactly when it falls apart. So here are the 6 steps you need to follow to ensure that you're set up for success. Step 1 starts with your accounting foundation. You need QuickBooks Online or something similar, but I would recommend QuickBooks Online. It's the most widely available and most popular system out there. Because without a proper accounting system, job costing turns into chaos. Once QuickBooks is in place, step 2 is your cost code structure. This is the backbone of your entire system. Every expense, receipt, and hour worked needs to tie to a direct cost code. Without that structure, you'll never be able to see which parts of your project were profitable and which ones weren't. Check the link in the description for our cost code set that you can use to get started the right way. It's the exact set that I use as a professional builder and the same one we use in Buildwise. Each code represents a category of work, things like framing, electrical, plumbing, finished carpentry. Now, step 3 is separating your costs. Everything that's directly tied to a job, labor, materials, and trades, belongs in the cost of goods sold, or COGS. Everything else like rent, insurance, and software belongs in your overhead expenses. Because if you blur those two lines together, your margins are never going to make sense. And this, I will tell you, after 7 years of coaching and seeing hundreds of QuickBooks files, is exactly where most builders go wrong. Step 4 is setting up your labor properly. Like we talked about a minute ago, the pay rate that you pay your employees is not the true cost to your business. So it's critical that you calculate your labor burden correctly, because it's the only way that your gross profit will actually make any sense. Step 5 is data flow. QuickBooks handles your accounting, and Buildwise acts as your front end. It's where your team tracks their time, uploads receipts, and invoices from trade partners. And the most important part is that with every single upload, whether it's labor, materials, or trades, that everything gets coded to a project and to a cost code. This creates one clean flow between the field and the books and ensures that these are numbers that you can now trust. And step 6 is discipline. Once your structure is built, consistency beats complexity every single time. Because most builders that I've seen and worked with overcomplicate this process. So follow our structure, keep it simple, accurate, and repeatable. And that is when job costing starts paying off in real time. Because it's meant to be active, a real-time pulse of your business. So once you've got the system set up, here's how to actually use it in real time. The first, and probably most important, is to record the costs as they happen. Every hour worked, every receipt purchased, and every trade invoice paid needs to get entered as it's occurring. Because when you delay, you lose accuracy. And the longer the lag, the less likely you're going to have accurate reports. That's because people lose receipts and they honestly forget what they did last week when they're filling out timesheets after the fact. And this is where Buildwise simplifies everything. Using our mobile app, your team tracks their time, uploads receipts, and codes them by project and cost code, so you're always working with live data. Next is tracking unbillables. Every builder has unbillables, rework, warranty, or keep the piece fixes for clients. And it honestly doesn't matter if you're cost plus or fixed costs, because both sides have these. The real key is tracking these, because most builders don't do that. They'll simply absorb these costs into the job or overhead and never track to know how much they've actually spent on unbillable work. But with Buildwise, you can track your unbillables without having to bill the clients for them. This means you can finally measure how much you're spending on rework and client favors that don't generate revenue. Because once you start tracking it, you can actually start managing it. That means tightening processes and building additional buffers into your estimates for warranty and rework. But most builders ignore these, and it's a leading reason why your profit will just disappear without an explanation. Now, the third piece is review cadence. Each week, sit down with your team, open up Buildwise, and look at your estimated to actual costs. This is where you'll start to catch problems while you can still actually do something about it. It keeps everyone aligned, and it keeps the conversations about facts and not opinions. Let's say that your framing labor is tracking pretty high, which is pretty common for us. Then you can decide to sub out, say, the interior doors in finishing phase, so that if you're fixed cost, you're not losing that margin, or if you're cost plus, you're not having to sit down with the client and have that really awkward conversation about being over budget. And that's how you manage it, so you stay profitable in real time instead of discovering it when it's too late and you can't do anything about it. And this leads right into the feedback loop, the most powerful part of job costing. When you watch the costs as they're coming in real time, you start to pick up on patterns. You see which scopes are predictable, which ones run hot, and where your estimating needs to be tweaked. In other words, you're using yesterday's information to price tomorrow's projects. This means you don't need to wait till the end of a project to see how you did. You can open up a project, see exactly where you stand, and make an intelligent business decision right there. But the mistake most builders make is letting this system go passive. They enter data, but they never review it. Job costing works best when you're in it on an ongoing basis. This means opening it up, reading the data, and adjusting course. Because when you do this regularly, you stop just running a series of projects and you start running an actual business. But job costing only works when the right people own it, because even the best system will fall apart if no one's accountable for it. It's a shared effort between the field, PMs, and accounting. And when each person knows their role, the system works smoothly. It starts like we spoke about with your on-site teams. They track their time and tag it to the right project and cost codes. They also upload receipts for materials from the lumberyard or hardware store. This keeps your costs accurate in real time instead of letting it pile up for someone else to clean later on. It continues with project managers handling the middle ground. They review invoices, confirm the scope, and approve them before they even hit accounting. And they're also responsible for checking your internal team members' time and material receipts that they've uploaded to make sure that they're categorized for the correct project and cost code. And it ends with accounting, who owns the reconciliation. They're the safety net to ensure that every hour worked, every material receipt, and trade invoice has a project and cost code assigned to it. This is what prevents orphan transactions that will slip through and then skew your reports. This creates a closed loop from field to PM to accounting, where every cost is tracked, coded, and verified. And that is what makes your job costing accurate and trustworthy. It's true, good job costing is about tracking numbers, but the real truth is what the numbers are actually telling you. And when it's done right, you can open up any project and see exactly where you stand. You can see your margins by cost code and cost of goods category and make adjustments right in real time. That's honestly what great builders have in common. They don't guess at their margins, they don't guess at estimating, they actually know based on proven results. And this is where Buildwise stands out amongst the crowd. Because it connects everything, time tracking, material receipts, trade invoices, all right within one platform. You don't have to wait till the end of the month for your accountant to update you or a project ending to figure out how you did. You can see it right now inside the project. This is what good job costing looks like. If you're ready to take control of your numbers and finally see where your profit actually comes from, check out Buildwise. It's the job costing software built for remodelers and custom home builders who want real-time clarity and control. Or if you just want to start small, check the link in the description for our job costing workbook template. It's a great way to get started tracking your costs before you go full digital. If you got value from this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and also share with a friend that needs to hear these messages. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.